Welcome back to the Wizard Shop, and today the theme of the video is the bill doesn't always have to be so big. Let's take a look at this beautiful Mercedes.
Wizard, what are you doing?
I'm just checking out my Instagram account. Actually, VinWiki and Sway have asked, what would I do with a $35,000 theft recovery Lamborghini Gallardo? Well, you guys know me, and the first thing I would do is remove everything that's aftermarket. Aftermarket wheels, stereo, mood lighting, fake carbon fiber wrapping, all those things that I've seen so many customers come into the shop with all kinds of modifications, that stuff would come off and everything stock would go back on. Then I would take care of all the fluids, the services, bring everything up to snuff, and then I would enjoy the car for quite a long time. And then I would probably flip it for a profit at some time down the road, because at that price there could be quite a bit of money made on a car like that. But I definitely would enjoy it first, but not before bringing everything up to snuff and bringing it back stock. Now let's talk about this beautiful 2006 Mercedes E320 diesel. It is a CDI. It's in very good shape, and it's here for just a couple of small services, and that's it. Let's go ahead and check this thing out. It's nice. So it does have some bugs on the front. Obviously the customer drives this thing. It's not a museum piece, but it's a beautiful silver color. I had an E500 at one time, and I really think these are really cool cars. I like the styling. This is before Mercedes Benz starts to look like insects. They look weird. This is when they're classy, they're cool, they got good lines. This one's no exception. It's in good shape. It does have some like corrosion or something on the wheels, but that's not uncommon for a car of this era. It doesn't matter which brand. The rear's in good shape. It does have a small dent right here on the boot lid. As you can see, it says E320 CDI. I do see some damage right here on the rocker panel. It looks like it maybe got hit with a rock or something of that nature. But otherwise, the body looks nice. It has classic E-Class lines. I really, really like this series of E-Class. Let's go ahead and open the hood. Here we have the E320 CDI engine. This is a diesel. It actually sounds to me, when it's running, it sounds like a Cummins. One of the things the customer was concerned about is the serpentine belt. The customer actually purchased a belt. They were going to change it out themselves until they looked at it and they were like, I think I'm going to leave that to the car wizard. That looks like something I don't even want to try. He just foresaw a lot of stress, a lot of anger, and he's like, you guys can take care of it. This engine has roughly 200 horsepower and 370 pound-feet of torque, and it sounds just like a Cummins. Let me start it for you guys and let you hear it. It sounds awesome. Sounds like a common rail Cummins. Basically is an inline six common rail diesel. Going to turn it off. We don't do a whole lot of diesel work, and luckily the only thing we're doing to this engine is a serpentine belt. So you can see a lot of shields here. Right here would be the intake manifold under here. The valve covers right here. And over there is the exhaust manifold. Even though we have an air filter on top of it, there's our throttle body and everything going on there. There's the airflow sensor and the ABS unit over there. Again, Mercedes puts things in places that it's easy to work on. So many cars I've worked on, the ABS unit is buried somewhere deep in a pit somewhere. You can't get to it. This one is not. I do agree with the customer, the serpentine belt doesn't look fun to do, but that's what we do for a living, and we're happy to take care of it for them.
Hey legends, haven't talked to you guys in a while. Haven't had a good interior to do, but this one is a great interior. Look, it has 116,000 miles on it, and it doesn't look like it. Look at the dash. This is immaculate. This car is in excellent shape. The only minuscule complaint that we can have here is that the floorboard has sand. and that is it. The wood trim, there's no cracks in it, and at this age a lot of times the wood, the lacquer starts to crack, but again, none of that. And there is a lot of wood trim in here. It does have a really fun kind of cover here, and lo and behold, you find fun things in cars. And look, there's a Susan B. Anthony silver dollar in there. We'll leave that back there for them. But otherwise, this is in great shape. Classic Mercedes styling. Got dual climate control, standard infotainment on the screen there. Nothing crazy, and they've stayed with this design for a really long time. That's what makes Mercedes so classic, is they're not changing up what they do in cars. Again, leather seating in front and in back, looking good. If we move to the headliner, looks fabulous as well. No sagging, all looking fabulous as always. Does have great memory controls on the seats, so if you have multiple drivers, you can make sure that the seat goes back or forward for them depending on what size they are. Otherwise, this is in great shape. Let's get this up on a lift, Wizard.
All right. So many of you know, in my shop I have BenPak lifts all over. BenPak was nice enough to sponsor my shop with all the lifts, and they have been so handy. One thing I've really noticed is, like on the 4-post lift, I don't have to spend a lot of time kneeling and trying to set the arms. Although the 2-post lifts are very handy if you're going to be doing suspension work or major driveline work or something like that. But if we just need to do a simple service or inspect a vehicle, we can drive on, lift it up, do what we need to do, drop it down and drive it off. It's so much faster. Let's go ahead and get this thing up in the air. So again, we'll start from the back and move our way forward. We have our 2 exhausts. Even though it has an inline engine, it does have dual exhaust, which makes it look a little sportier. There's our trunk. Go ahead and check these brakes. They're at about 60% remaining. CV boots are good. Nothing loose there. Sway bar link is good. Nothing leaking. The shock looks good, nice and dry. Here's our differential. It's also nice and dry. And our CV boots are good. The brakes are also 60% on this side. Check our sway bar. Everything's tight there. The shock's dry. Everything looks good there. Here's our flex disc. It does have the coating, or whatever they painted with this thing with, does have some minor weather checking in it, but the rubber itself is not cracked. It's in very good shape. So that doesn't need any service there. Here's our drive shaft, a medium girthy one. Most Mercedes have, like this one does, right by the U-joint, a carrier bearing. Those can create a lot of vibration issues when driving, so that's something to make sure you check as well. Here we have another flex disc, and again the surface has a little weather checking on it, but the rubber itself is fine. This car's pretty clean, isn't it, Mrs. Wizard?
It does look nice under here.
We can see where the single exhaust comes down, but it turns into 2 right here. That's just for appearance, just for sportiness. Underneath this shield is the transmission, and that is the second thing we're going to be doing while it's here, is a transmission service. And that's all the customer wanted. He wanted his belt replaced and the transmission serviced, and then he said park it outside. So that's what we're going to do. We'll do a quick inspection. We always do a courtesy inspection, make sure there's nothing else. Look up through here, guys. The side of the engine block has the factory black paint on it. It's so nice and clean. Very, very nice. This car's been well cared for. We'll check this brake over here. About 50 to 60% remaining. The strut is nice and dry. Our sway bar link is very good. Nothing leaking over there. Our steering rack boot, I can feel that it's dry in there. Brakes over here, about 50% remaining. Sway bar link is good. The boot is nice and dry. The strut is dry. Everything looks good there. And then I don't see any coolant or anything coming through here, so no leaks going on underneath the engine. One thing I always like to check is look through the grill. You can actually find leaks on the condenser or transmission coolers or different things that you can't see from just looking under the car. And everything looks nice and dry there. So we didn't take all the panels off. The customer's not wanting us to tear half of his car apart. I could tell if there was leaks. If there were leaks going on, you would see it coming out of the seams or around where the panels bolt up. But he just wants a basic inspection and transmission service and the belt replaced. But everything looks pretty good under there. It looks very nice. Let's go ahead and get it on the ground. So although this is quite a treat for us to get to see a Mercedes diesel in the shop, in America we don't have a whole lot of diesels. We know you guys across the pond in Europe, Germany, even other countries, diesels are very prevalent. They're everywhere. Gas prices or fuel prices or petrol prices, I should say, is so high comparatively to the US that diesel is the viable option. I wish it wasn't that way. I wish there were a lot more diesels here in America, but for some reason Americans just, when you mention it's a diesel, they actually get a frown on their face. They're like, I don't want that. I don't know why that is. Because you can get a lot more longevity out of the engine. This engine could easily go 300,000 or 400,000 miles. So they're really good cars. They do a lot better on mileage. I like the way they sound. I prefer a diesel engine. We've actually had a lot of diesel engines, haven't we, Mrs. Wizard?
We've had a few.
I actually like them. I actually had a guy the other day he was mentioning about gas prices are so high. I said, you know, in England, they're comparatively $7 and $8 a gallon. Then he went on some tirade about politics, which we don't do politics on this channel, but we really have it pretty good. Gas is $3-4 a gallon. It's still pretty high, but if it gets much higher, you might look into a diesel. You may change your mind. So with the two things we're doing here, we're doing the serpentine belt and the transmission service. The bill is going to be in the hundreds, not thousands or even 10,000 like some of the bills you guys have seen lately. Just hundreds. So it's not going to be that expensive. It doesn't always have to be. I've heard a lot of stories from customers that every time they take their car to this shop or that shop, it's always $5,000, $10,000. It's like they find things wrong that aren't even really wrong. But here we take care of what you want. If we find something else, we'll let you know. If you don't want to fix it, that's fine as well. But everything else, as you saw, is very clean and very nice on this car. So we'll get that taken care of. We'll get this back to the customer. But I wanted to show you guys this before it left. It's a really sweet CDI. If you're curious what kind of tools we're going to use to work on this, check my Amazon affiliates link in the description below. We get a small cut and we really appreciate it. And make sure to hit the subscribe button because there are so many more cool projects to come. Thanks for watching.